Emiliano, talking about natural wine, this natural wine movement has evolved significantly in the past few years, right? How do you see the future going and for natural wine? And what role do you believe Progetto Sete will play in it?
The future is not easy, but I think now there is an economic and global crisis, especially in the wine world. The exports are slow. People have little money after COVID. The cost of living has increased, but the salaries are still the same. So the wine market is a bit in crisis. But also in the natural wine market, there is a bit of confusion. There are some wines sold as natural, but they are not.
Welcome to this special Clubhouse session of the Italian Wine Podcast. Listen in as members of the Italian wine community engage in fascinating conversations about contemporary wine topics. If you enjoyed the show, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. And remember to subscribe and rate the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your pods.
Hello and welcome to Clubhouse, the Ambassador's Corner. My name is Carla Ravagnolo and today I'm pleased to welcome Alberto Martinez-Interiano and his guest Emiliano Giorgi from Progetto Sete. Welcome everybody.
Hello,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks
Hello.
for the invitation.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. So Alberto is going to be the one asking the questions today. But before passing the mic to him, I would like to share a few information about his background. So Alberto is a wine educator, writer, and communicator based in Seattle. His work has been featured in industry and trade publications such as SOMMTV, the Vintner Project, and the Italian Wine Podcast. Judged at multiple international wine competitions, he also teaches WSET and Wine Scholar Guild courses in both Seattle and Portland in Oregon. So, Alberto, how did you discover about Progetto Sete wines?
Yeah, I ran into them. I was in a tasting in Via Cavour in Rome a few months ago, and it was a tasting about natural wines in an enoteca, and that's kind of the first time that I tried Progetto Sete's wines.
Amazing. So, how did you get to know Emiliano Giorgi and why did you decide to invite him today?
Yeah, so Emiliano was part of the event along with his partners, Arcangelo Martina. And I liked about his project for a few reasons. First of all, I found their wines delicious, really refreshing, complex, and really with a lot of authenticity. I also like their story about their commitment to natural winemaking and this stewardship of the environment. And besides that, I like the fact that they also focus on this preserving the cultural heritage and the community of their place and really revaluing the land, especially that has such a long historical tradition.
Amazing. So, what are the learning objectives that we should expect from this interview?
I have three learning objectives. First is just learn about the terroir and the local grape varieties of the Priverno area, which they're based in the Southern Lazio. Also, to get a deep dive on a project basically focused on restoring all vineyards and revaluing this historical landscape. And finally, I think we'll get a closer look into the world of Italian natural winemaking.
Wonderful. It sounds extremely interesting. So, I'll not mute myself so you can properly introduce your guest and his project. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carla. And yeah, I'd like to start by just doing a quick intro on Emiliano. I'll let him take the floor in a few minutes. Emiliano is the co-founder of Progetto Sete, which is a farming and winemaking and cultural project based in Southern Lazio. He founded the project in 2013 in partnership with two other friends and with the main objectives of recovering these abandoned vineyards and preserving the rich heritage of the land. The winery, Progetto Sete, focuses on making natural wines from local grape varieties using a very traditional low intervention approach. And all his wines are made without any additives of sulfites. So I think I'd like to then pass it along and welcome Emiliano again to the Italian Wine Podcast. We really thank you for joining us, and we appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, Emiliano, first of all, I'd like to know a little bit more about your personal background and the story behind how Progetto Sete came about.
It was a long journey for me. I got into agriculture winemaking through several steps. It was like a spontaneous fermentation, I think this process started at university time. At that time, I moved to Rome, where I studied anthropology, sociology, and communication. During my studies, I was involved to critical consumption. So with some friends, we founded a social and cultural association. The focus was on critical consumption and also about permaculture, local food, and we started to grow vegetables for us and for some friends and families. We arranged some workshop about foraging. So this is the first step that I start to work in agriculture. Then when I finished my studies, I worked for several companies, writing travel guides about food and wine, but it was not enough for me. I would like to leave the office work because it didn't fit me. At that time, there wasn't smart work, in Italy. So I love to work also physically. So I decided to change something in my life to get my hands dirty. In 2010 and 2011, in the harvest time, I worked at Biodynamic Winery in the north of Lazio. There I discovered the world of natural wine. So then I come back to Rome. I work at the office again for 2 years. And then I decided to leave my office job and come back to Priverno, my own town. There I met my partners, Arcangelo and Martina. And that time, Arcangelo worked for an organic farm. So I told them about natural wine and my experience at Le Coste, the winery where I worked. And we decided to buy some grapes to start to make wine together. It was the first time. It was in 2013. After this first experience, we were enthusiastic. So we discovered the potential of our terroir, even through the wines we had made were not very good. But it was our first experience making wine alone. And it's not easy to make wine, especially natural wine without that, with someone else's grapes. But this experience pushed us to go ahead. So we took the next step, which was a mapping work of our area, looking for vineyards to manage and to rent.
And somewhere, I believe, Emiliano, that I read that decision to start the project happened at a pub, right, over a few beers. Is that true?
Yes. We were in a pub in Priverno. We share a beer there. So I start to tell to Arcangelo and Martina about my experience, about natural wine. And Arcangelo told me about its job in farming. So we talk about to make wine together. And it started there.
Oh, that's great. And so the name Sete literally means thirst in Italian. Besides the literal meaning, what else does the name symbolize to you guys?
Okay, the name, yes, it's like a natural need, for us to do something good for us, something we love for the places where we were born, where we live, and also to use agriculture and winemaking as a tool of social and cultural change that pushes the people to find a balance with the relationships with nature. Is an hard goal, no? But we think that this is very important for a natural farming company. But I think Sete has a double meaning. A natural need, and also, like the French people call it, vin de soif, vini da sete, thirsty wines. It's a style of wines, fresh and low in alcohol, to drink, not necessary with an important plate of food, to drink anytime you love to.
No, I think the name totally applies to the style of the wines that you make. So that's really great. Can we move on to now the location where the wineries? I know that you guys are based in Priverno, which is the southern part of Lazio, roughly halfway between Rome and Napoli. For those of us who are not super familiar with the area, could you tell us just a little bit more about the region and just paint a picture of what the area of Priverno is like?
Yeah, we are halfway between Rome and Naples, more close to Rome. It's about 1 hour south by car, 100 kilometers. So this area is very interesting in agronomic vision because we are between the Preapennino mountains, called Monti Lepini, and the seaside, the coast of Circeo National Park. The climate is mild, but getting hotter year by year. The climate change is a really problem. But the soils also are hybrids because we have a silty clay soil in the mountainside, but in the other side, in the seaside, we have a sandy soil. Really interesting because our red and yellow sands rich in silico. So the wine from this side are really mineral and really different from the wines we made with the grapes from the mountain sides.
Besides viticulture, there are other crops that are in the area, right? It's not a monocultural place, but I recall that there's some olives and even buffalo farms, etc. So there's a lot of different crops growing in the area, right?
Yes, because in the past, the winemaking here, everyone make wine. Like I think in many regions in Italy, in the past, every family make wine. But starting from 70s and 80s, the people start to leave the countryside to do another job. So the vineyards we found are very old vineyards, but really rich in biodiversity because in the past the families spent all the day in the vineyard growing food and planted vines. And it was like a family agriculture.
And in terms of local grape varieties, I understand that primarily the grape varieties from the region are the guys that you work with, right? Both red and white. Can you just share like an overview of the main grapes that you work with?
Yeah, it's Ottonese. Ottonese, it's a white grape. We have more white grapes than reds. And Ottonese, it's a white grape. It's called also Bombino Bianco. It has a double name, but everyone here called it Ottonese. We have also Moscato Bianco and Malvasia Puntinata, Malvasia del Lazio, and a bit of Trebbiano, but more Ottonese. But in the old vineyards, in the past, the peasants plant a bit random sometimes, so we have also more different local varieties.
And are those mostly old vines or are there relatively new plantings?
Are old vines. We have old vines from 50 years old to 100 also. We have an old vineyard that was planted in 1918. So it's really old.
Wow.
And it's also really interesting because it was planted in the seaside and we have the sand soil there. So it's not grafted, it's a piede franco, all Ottonese without graft. So it's really, really interesting.
Wow, impressive, impressive. So tell us about this recovery process that you guys have, because you mentioned earlier some of these old vines had been nearly abandoned for a few years, right? Before you guys showed up. What was that like? What was it in terms of the process of recovering and kind of reviving these old vines?
The vineyards weren't all abandoned because we understand the concept of recovery as in the sense that the goal of the project is to save the few remaining vineyards in our area. So we start to work with old men. Like I said, starting from the 70s, people stopped to work the land. So when we started, we collaborate with old people, cultivating together with them, and then renting the vineyards. In some cases, after a few years, buying the land. Some of these old men now are dead, but in the town the word spread and the people started looking for us to ask if we wanted to take care of the old vineyards. In some cases also widows come to the cellar asking us if we are interested in cultivating their husband vineyards. So there is these relationships about the community because the people now know what is Progetto Sete and ask to us to manage the old vineyards because if we don't do it, they cut it off. So it's a collaboration.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And how many hectares do you guys work with today? And is that all through that relationships with the kind of old growers?
We arrived today around 5 hectares, divided to 12 different plots. because the vineyards are not very big. So the plots sometimes are around 3,000 meters. So are many pieces of vineyard that to manage is not easy, especially in the last years, because climate change is a big problem. We have a lot of difficult, especially in 2023 when we lost 95% of the grapes. So this is the situation. But yeah, we have around 5 hectares.
In terms of viticulture, so kind of addressing your earlier point, can you elaborate on your approach? Are you working sustainable and organic? And what specific practices are you implementing in the vineyard?
We are an organic farm certified, but our approach is hybrid. Sometimes we do some biodynamic treatment. We try to understand the differences of the period and the moments of the vineyards and especially the vintage. We are lucky because the vines we grow are old plants and the vineyards are rich in biodiversity. So we have natural grassing. Some years we plant green manure to fix the nitrogen. So that help the indigenous yeasts that are on the grapes in the spontaneous fermentation. In this period now, we are finishing the pruning. We try to prune at the last moment before the springtime to delay the plant's awakening and the budding, because in the last years there have always been many frosts between the end of April and the beginning of May. So to save the harvest, we are carrying on with this strategy.
And I imagine that requires a lot more work and a lot more dedication, right? You guys are probably constantly either doing one thing or the other in the vineyard, right? It's a lot more hands-on.
Yes, every vintage is a challenge, The last vintage in 2024, we start to harvest early August. Was really hot, was warm. So we decided to start the harvest early in the morning, 3 o'clock. So a night harvest was really funny. And also it works because we bring to the cellar very fresh grapes without problems. The grapes were the bull bunch without breaking grapes during the transport. So we try to do our best in this difficult situation.
So, Emiliano, how about the philosophy in the cellar?
We work without additives. It's zero additives, just grapes, no sulfates at any stage. So it's an hard work. We take the risk, but we need to make this work, this kind of wine with spontaneous fermentation. So with indigenous yeasts, we need high quality organic grapes. So we work a lot in the vineyards, but also the vineyards we grow are old, so the grapes are healthy when we have it. And so we work with this style.
And I believe that it shows, right? I found your wines really vibrant and fresh and alive. And I think a lot has to do with both your practices at the vineyard and in the winery. So let's chat a little bit more about your wines, right? Your portfolio, which one thing that impressed me is the fact that you guys have a broad range that includes white still wines, sparkling, orange wines, rosés, and reds. Tell us kind of what's your flagship in terms of the main wines that you work with.
Oh, yes, we make many different wines, a lot of labels. This is also because we have many plots. We tend to vinify separated the grapes of each single plot, but it depends about the vintage. The goal is to put in the bottle the terroir. It's hard, but we try to do this. We have more white wine because we have more white grapes. We make some wines like Tropicale. We work a lot also with the packaging, with the labels. My brother Ivan is our graphic designer. So we work together. And also Roberta, my partner in life, she worked with visual art. So it's a teamwork. This is also the community and the family of Sete Wines work all together to a single idea and a single wine.
And I think that all your wines have this interesting kind of edgy names, but also what stands out with that those eye-catching artistic labels. So A couple that I really liked, one was Bomba, which is this sparkling Otonese, right? Can you tell us a little bit more how, because that's kind of the first time that I've ever tried sparkling Otonese.
Otonese is a very versatile grape, you know. If you have the grapes with a lot of sugar, you can go with a long maceration with many days of skin contact. But if you have not too much sugar, it's also really good with the bubbles. So we make Bomba. Bomba is our sparkling wine. It is a re-fermented wine because we make it adding a fresh juice to a still wine. So we don't use sugar. We use the sugar of the grape juice. So we put some fresh juice in a still wine and then we bottle it. And then we also do a degorgement after 6 months, the first batch, and then we wait 12 months. We arrive also to 26 months on the final yeast, on the yeasts. So we are more complex taste, but at the same time, really with a good drinkability and a very fast wine.
No, absolutely, yes. Another one that I think caught my attention was this Buccia, which is this orange wine, right? Is that also 100% Otonese? And tell us a little bit more about kind of the process and the maceration of that.
Yes, Buccia is one of our orange wine. Buccia in Italian means skin. So we make it with 20 days of skin contact. The grapes are from two plots of 70 years old vineyards. And we make it with 20 days of skin contact. Then we press it and we use a still tank. So here we can taste a new taste than the Bomba, because when you go with a long skin contact, the Otonese grapes, you have some taste about roots, spices. So it's really interesting. And we have 80% of Otonese and a bit of Malvasia puntinata, 20%.
And what does the Malvasia puntinata, what does it add in this case to the blend?
It's not a blend, it's a field blend
Okay.
because we have it in the vineyards. In the past, the people, when planted the vineyards, have many lines with Otonese, and then we have 2 lines of Malvasia puntinata. So the harvest, we harvested all together and put all together, fermenting together.
Okay. And is that mostly most plantings? Are those field blends, or do you have specific plots that are for a single variety?
Oh, it's field blend because in the past the people also in the old vineyards sometimes some plants died, and in the past someone put a new variety close the Ottonese, but it's really hard to harvest it all separated, and also the quantities are not too much to make many different wine with just one kind of grape, just one variety.
No, that makes sense. And in terms of the red wines, the sort of the main grape variety in this area is Cesanese, right? And tell us a little bit more about Cesanese, and specifically Comandante is one of kind of the flagship red that you guys have.
Yes, Cesanese, it's a really interesting grape. We make it with not long maceration because we don't like to extract too much tannins. We love the fresh wines, so it depends from the vintages, but we make it with 5-6 days of skin contact. It depends from the alcoholic fermentation. So Cesanese is a very powerful grape, but our idea is to make it a little bit more fresh than the traditional strong reds,
Yeah, and it is fresh. It's fresh and sort of has that savory and especially like great drinkability. So absolutely. And how about another great variety that you work with is Nero Buono, right? Probably in very small quantities. Tell us a little bit more Nero Buono, kind of what's the profile and how do you use it in your wines?
We made in the past a wine called Buco Nero, black hole, with Nero Buono. But it was a négoce wine in the French style, like French say, because we bought this grape from Cori. Cori is a little village close to Priverno, and this grape is typical from this area. and it's really strong red. But also in this case, we made it in 2017, I think. Yes, 17, and we try to make a little bit more fresh, but Nero Buono needs time, so it's a very interesting but strong reds.
One thing that I think most of the listeners of the Italian Wine Podcast, we like to go deep into some of those lesser known grapes. I think another one is Buon Amico, right? Or good friend. Do you still work with that? And tell us more about, yeah, for those of us that are not too familiar with Buon Amico.
Yes, we have a very few grapes, few plants about Bonamico. I think it was typical from Tuscany, but in the past we managed a little vineyard, little plot of Bonamico in Prosedi, close to Priverno area. It's really interesting because I love the fruity and the aromatic side. It's not too much aromatic, but when you use it without a long maceration, the fruit go up, and I love it. It's a
Mhm.
very interesting grape, Bonamico, and also
Yeah.
the name is really funny.
And what do you know why is that? Is that because it's easy to grow and it's kind of the grower's friend? Or
Oh, I don't know because we left this little plot.
ah,
We left this little plot because it was too far from our area, so we decided to give it back to the owner, and no more Bonamico now.
okay, okay. Good. So, kind of shifting gears now, talking about the community and the community involvement. I know that's something that you emphasize a lot, right? Based on all the different initiatives over these few years, how has the local community responded to your efforts?
At the first time, the old people we met in the vineyard sometimes were not really happy about us because they asked to us, "What are you doing here? What do you want?" We were the news, the new people in the land. But after some years, the people start to call us. We have a teamwork with old men, and also we think that natural wine is a soul food, is also a tool to spread positive values like the respect for nature and people, respect for diversity, and the importance of conviviality and to stay together and share a bottle. So after some years, the people are really happy about our work in the countryside, and now we receive many call about a new vineyard to take care, but sometimes are really small, and we say we can take care about 2 lines. We need a little bit more, but now there is really good relationships with the people here.
No, that's great. Yeah. And it takes some time, I guess, but you guys seem to have earned the trust and
Yeah.
of the community. That's great to hear. Speaking of sustainability, I know that yeah, we talked a little bit before. Are there any other like biggest challenges as you're kind of try to maintain this ethos, especially with all the things going on?
It's difficult, but we try to find a balance. It's hard. We try to work with many partnership, and also it's not easy, Alberto, but we do our best to find the balance. But in our idea, in our vision, the wine of Progetto Sete is a natural wine, so we can't change our idea and our way to make wine because we lost our identity. We start to make the wine in this way. We love to do it. We take the risk. We are working a lot also with some project about wine tasting and with some collaboration with some clubs around Priverno and the Lazio region. So we work in this way.
And has that been a challenge of kind of balancing this sustainable techniques with traditional viticulture? Do you see that they complement each other, or has there been times where you've had to decide one way or the other?
We are exploring many ways to make different styles because we don't have an historical past about the style of our area, because we have no many wineries here. The wineries that are in this area are conventional wineries, so we are pioneers in natural winemaking, but we try to find the right balance about the freshness and the thirsty wines also. Like I said, we make fresh wines, but also we love to have mature grapes to don't start the harvest too much early. But in the last years, we have many problems with the maturation. So every year, everything changes.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the norm in the years to come, right? So, yeah, it requires to be constantly on your feet in adjusting accordingly. Emiliano, talking about natural wine, you know, this natural wine movement has evolved significantly in the past few years, right? How do you see the future going and for natural wine? And what role do you believe Progetto Sete will play in it?
The future is not easy to think about the future, but I think now there is an economic and global crisis in many sectors, and especially also in the wine world. The exports are slow. People have little money after COVID. The cost of living has increased, but the salaries are still the same. So the wine market is a bit in crisis, I think. But also in the natural wine market, there is a bit of confusion. There are some wines sold as natural, but they are not. And also, the natural wines, in some cases, are too funky or have defects. But I think this is part of the game.
And anything that you see that you will do differently, or is that the idea kind of now that you find your style, pretty much stay true to it?
We go ahead with our idea, but we try to work better in the vineyards. We try to work better in the cellar also. We are obsessed about the cleaning in the cellar. So our challenge is to make a good, real natural wine with just grapes.
Hmm. I agree. And while at the same time, I find your wines have that edge and that sort of authenticity of natural wines, but also they're clean and sound without any faults, which, yeah, I think that makes it very refreshing. Absolutely. In terms of kind of to close, any plans, any new projects for Progetto Sete in the horizon that you can share?
When we started, in my mind, I have two projects, wine and food. My dream is also to grow food in the vineyards and run also Progetto Fame. Progetto Fame is to grow local food and to sell it and share it with the community around Priverno. It's not easy, but we will try to start this project next year. I don't know when, but we have in our mind for many years.
That sounds really exciting. Do you know what specific produce you will be growing?
We have some typical vegetables here, like broccoletti, but is a special vegetables from this area. We have also a slow food label protection about this typical kind variety of broccoli. The name is chiacchietegli. It's very funny. Is slang, and also other vegetables for the everyday meal. Like in the summertime, tomatoes and other vegetables.
No, that's great. And that sounds really exciting. So I can't wait to hear more once you guys kick off Progetto Fame in the next few. That will be really interesting. So, Emiliano, I think that we're almost at time, but to finally, one thing, if you could give one piece of advice to someone in Italy or abroad that is looking to start a similar type of initiative, what would that be?
Don't do it. No, I'm joking, of course. Uh, it's hard. It's hard because the climate crisis is a challenge. But believe in what you love, because we started from zero. And when you love something, and when you put your roots, your ideas, your dreams in something you do, you find a way to do it. So don't give up.
Yeah, that's a great one to close. So, Emiliano, thanks again for the time. I've personally found our conversation very informational and inspiring. And I really like the idea of Progetto Sete, right? I think you guys are just a shining example of a project that honors tradition, supports sustainability, and brings communities together while at the same time making amazing wines. For me, I think it reminds me that wine is just more than just a beverage, right? There are stories of the land, the people, and everything, the journey that goes behind the bottle. So, as you well articulated. So, yeah, that's it for me. I'll pass it on back to Carla to see if there's any other questions from our listeners.
Thank you, Alberto. Thank you all. We wait you in Priverno. Huh? We wait you in Priverno so we can see the vineyards together, take a walk, and try some wines together.
No, that'll be great. Yeah, looking forward to that. Thank you. Back to you,
Yes.
Carla. Thanks.
Amazing. I'm really glad I had the chance to listen to you. I agree with everything Alberto said. Your conversation, your project is extremely inspiring. And as let's say like a next generation, I'm not gonna say my age, but I will say I'm young in a way. So it's very promising and like positive and inspiring for me to see projects like this. So thank you so much for real. And with this note, I will close the room. But thank you. Have a great one.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, cin cin.